My husband's sister played a prank that triggered my past trauma. I snapped, and now the family has cut ties with her. She's currently trying to play the victim and turn everyone against me. I'm 27, married to Aaron, also 27. We've been married for 3 years and have known each other for 6. Aaron has an older sister, Sophie, who's 30, and she's the reason for this whole mess. 3 weeks ago, Sophie asked if I wanted to join her, my mother-in-law, and Aaron's cousin Nadia on a girls' trip to Spain. Nadia's also 27. Even though she and Aaron are technically cousins, they grew up more like siblings, having gone to the same school and classes together. Naturally, I became closer with Nadia too. At first, I wasn't excited about the trip. I honestly didn't think it would be much fun hanging out with Sophie and my mother-in-law. But after Nadia and I talked, she said she really needed a break and wanted me to come. She convinced me, and I agreed. Sophie offered to cover the plane tickets and hotel stay, which wasn't a big deal for her. She's insanely wealthy thanks to her husband, a successful neurosurgeon. Sophie technically runs an event planning business, but everyone knows she doesn't really work much. She just likes to look busy, so people don't think she's just living off her husband. She has a degree in literature but never worked in the field and thinks college was a waste of time except for the fact that she met her husband at a party there. Aaron once told me that Sophie was spoiled by their parents growing up. Anything she wanted, she got. Not much changed as she became an adult. She still thinks pouting and staying silent will get her whatever she wants. Her husband and parents encourage this behavior, but Aaron, Nadia, and I know when to tell her no, so she doesn't pull that stuff with us. Honestly, I've never really liked Sophie, but since she was never outright rude to me, I tolerated her for the sake of the family. So, in the end, I agreed to go. 3 days ago, we were supposed to leave. The airport is pretty far from my house, so I left early and arrived about 30 minutes before everyone else. While I was waiting, I got bored and started scrolling on my phone. Unfortunately, that morning my phone's vibration function had broken. It wasn't vibrating for notifications anymore. I hadn't had time to get it repaired and planned to deal with it after the trip. Luckily, I happened to be looking at my phone when a message came through from Sophie. She sent me a screenshot of a conversation she claimed had been sent to her from an unknown number. There was a picture with a caption underneath. Curious. I downloaded the image and opened it immediately. My blood ran cold. It was a photo taken right outside my house. In the photo, someone was holding a pair of scissors in their left hand. A few seconds later, another message came from the same number. Tell your precious brother's wife that I'm back. Sophie added that she had just received the message minutes ago and was terrified because she thought Aaron might be in danger. That was enough to send me into a panic. I have real trauma tied to being stalked in the past. It was hands down the worst time of my life. Back in college, I was stalked for 2 months. A guy would secretly take pictures of me from behind and send them throughout the day. He never messaged my real phone number. Instead, he made fake social media accounts to contact me. Sometimes he'd invite me to meet up somewhere and then never show up. I never left the dorm without protection and practiced jujitsu, but I still lived in constant fear. I tried reasoning with him once, asking him to leave me alone, but he replied that if I told anyone, there would be serious consequences. He even sent a photo taken outside my parents' house, again holding scissors. I was terrified into silence, barely leaving my dorm except for classes or food runs. Eventually, my roommate realized something was seriously wrong and forced me to tell her everything. Together, we went to the police. Within a few days, they arrested him. Turned out, he was a senior from the computer engineering department, someone who already made a lot of girls uncomfortable around campus. He'd used his cybersecurity skills to dig up information about me through my public social media accounts. It turned out he was also stalking another girl who had been too scared to speak up. After his arrest, he was expelled from college, and his parents took him back to his home country. That's when it finally ended. It's been years since then, and I'd mostly put it behind me. But seeing that photo Sophie sent brought it all back instantly. I immediately called 911. I told Sophie she needed to head to my house right away, but luckily, I didn't mention that I had already called the cops. My only focus was warning Aaron. I grabbed a taxi within minutes and frantically called my husband on the way. It was around 8 a.m., and I knew Aaron liked to sleep in on weekends, so I figured it would be hard to reach him. Thankfully, he answered on the third call. He sounded groggy, but there was no time to explain. I told him to grab something heavy, lock himself in our bedroom, and block the door. He was confused at first, but the second I mentioned the photo, he understood and did exactly what I said. I stayed on the line with him the entire 45-minute cab ride home, even after the police arrived and began checking the house. By the time I got there, the police had almost finished their sweep. They didn't find anyone suspicious nearby. I completely broke down and had a full-on panic attack. It took several minutes and half a bottle of water to calm myself down, even a little. The police said they ran the phone number through the system, and the only name that came up was Theo Wilson. That wasn't my stalker's name. It could have easily been a fake name registered to that number. At that point, I wasn't even thinking about Sophie's phone anymore. I was just beyond relieved that Aaron was okay. The cops who showed up told us that the cybercrimes unit had tracked down the person behind the messages and that they were bringing them into the station. Aaron and I immediately drove to the nearest police station. And just a few minutes after we got there, Sophie showed up. She was sobbing uncontrollably. I think you can already guess what happened. Yep, it's exactly what you're thinking. For some crazy reason, Sophie thought it would be funny to prank me that morning right before our trip. A few days earlier, she had met up with one of my old college friends for work. Naturally, family and personal stories came up, and when they realized we knew each other, my friend told her about my stalker situation. Pretty much everyone on campus knew about it back then. Not that I'm bragging, but after that whole stalker incident, my name was everywhere. Students, professors, everyone talked about it. People love scandals after all. It wasn't fun for me, though, having everyone whisper and point behind my back. But apparently, it stuck with people, and clearly, some are still talking about it. After hearing about my stalker, Sophie decided it would be hilarious to prank me before our trip. She had set up a new phone number under a fake name just for this purpose, and sent herself a photo she had taken a few days earlier right outside our house, holding scissors with her arm extended into the frame. Now, looking back at the photo and paying attention to the details, it's obvious it wasn't a man's hand. But at the time, in a full panic, I didn't notice. She had even taken the nail polish off to make it look more convincing. I was so terrified that I missed all the signs that it was a prank, but honestly, it didn't even matter. For me, it immediately triggered the trauma I had from college. The thought that it might all be happening again, and that Aaron could be in danger, absolutely terrified me. It wasn't funny at all. It ended with a humiliating trip to the police station, where Sophie got off with just a warning. Meanwhile, Aaron and I wasted our time, energy, and nerves thinking my stalker had come back. I was furious when we left the station. I completely lost it and screamed at her for over 15 minutes. By then, she was crying again, but I didn't care. She had made a complete joke out of one of the most traumatic experiences of my life and dragged all of us into this mess because of her stupidity. Let her cry all she wants. I didn't feel even a shred of sympathy for her. Aaron and I went home, and on the way, I told Nadia everything. She ended up canceling her trip too because, let's be honest, who wants to deal with someone who crossed so many lines just to pull a joke? The whole day, I was just trying to pull myself together. The morning had been pure chaos, and even after finding out it wasn't real, it was incredibly hard to shake off the fear. Back in college, that stalker situation was the darkest period of my life. Honestly, even that day, I was still really shaken. I barely talked to anyone besides Aaron and a little with Nadia. I turned my phone off and didn't want to hear from anyone. I had enough. Just 2 days ago, I found out that Sophie and my mother-in-law had been blowing up my email, accusing me of overreacting to a harmless joke and saying I was cruel for telling Nadia about it. Even though I never told Nadia not to gauche, made that decision on her own after hearing what happened. Apparently, Nadia and Aaron told the rest of the family what had happened, especially the younger ones. And now no one wants anything to do with Sophie, not even my father-in-law. Meanwhile, Sophie, my mother-in-law, and Sophie's father all think this is somehow my fault. They're acting like I orchestrated everything, even though I didn't even have my phone on that day. All Nadia and Aaron sharing the story. Now, they say I should apologize to Sophie because she was just joking and now she's the real victim, because she's been basically cut off by everyone. After reading their messages, I talked to Aaron. He told me I have absolutely no reason to feel bad for Sophie. He and Nadia both said they don't regret telling the others what happened. What Sophie did was beyond cruel. It wasn't some harmless prank. It dragged me back into one of the worst periods of my life, and I spent the whole day paralyzed by fear and anxiety. We both know the damage it did to my mental health. I completely agree with him. There was nothing harmless about it. I spent the entire day in panic mode because of her actions. So honestly, she got exactly what she deserved. And on top of that, she never even apologized. She just cried. So why should I feel sorry for her when she didn't feel sorry for me? That's pure hypocrisy. But then again, I didn't expect anything better from her. After thinking it through and talking to Aaron, I decided to just ignore Sophie completely. I didn't have the energy or the desire to argue with her or try to make her see reason, but she kept messaging me again and again. It was obvious she was just trying to guilt-trip me into apologizing and making up with her and the family. I could tell she was convinced she could manipulate me into feeling guilty enough to fix everything. At some point, her constant messages really started getting on my nerves. Frustrated, I finally snapped and replied. I told her I was actually glad she pulled such a cruel and heartless prank because now everyone could finally see her true colors and that she had no one to blame but herself. I also said that I had nothing to do with the rest of the family cutting her off, but honestly, I wished I had. If I had helped them get rid of trash like her, it would have been pretty satisfying. I finished the message by telling her, "You're just as ugly on the inside as you are on the outside," taking a jab at her weight. Normally, I'm not someone who judges people by appearances. I've had my own struggles with being bullied for being too skinny, but this time, I just wanted to hurt her. I knew she was insecure about her weight, and I hit where I knew it would sting. Maybe I went too far, I don't know. But after I sent that message, I honestly felt a little better. I'd tried so hard to stay calm and keep my opinions to myself, but Sophie kept pushing and pushing until I just broke. I called her disgusting because that's exactly how I felt about her after what she did. Before all this, I tolerated her spoiled and insensitive behavior, but this prank crossed every line. After sending the message, I put my phone down and tried to distract myself by watching a movie. I didn't check my phone again for about 3 hours. When I finally did, there was a new message from Sophie. She wrote that she had always thought of me as a good friend, and that's why she had expected me to forgive her for a little mistake without making her humiliate herself by apologizing properly, because apparently it should have been obvious she was sorry. I honestly had no idea what she meant, but I guess it made sense to her somehow. She added that if all I wanted was to be mean, then it would have been better if I hadn't replied at all instead of deliberately writing hurtful things just to make her feel horrible. She said that by choosing to be cruel, I made myself just as bad as her. I never really liked Sophie much even before this mess. But here, I have to admit maybe she had a point. Maybe I really shouldn't have said some of those things. I was just so furious not only because of what she did, but because she kept shifting the blame onto me instead of owning up to it. She was gaslighting me, trying to convince me it was somehow my fault, and eventually I just lost it. Yeah, maybe I hit below the belt, and the only thing I really regret is making comments about her looks. But even with all that, I don't think she has any right to expect an apology after everything she pulled. If she had acted like a decent human being and actually taken responsibility, we wouldn't even be here. Aaron thinks I shouldn't apologize at all. He says Sophie needed to be put in her place. First she hurt me, then she kept manipulating and playing the victim. He believes I shouldn't feel bad for her at all. Nadia, on the other hand, thinks I was a little too harsh. Now I'm torn and not sure what the right thing to do is. That's why I came here to get some outside perspective. I really don't want to stoop to Sophie's level just to get revenge. I love Aaron, but he's not the most sensitive person when it comes to emotional stuff. I love Nadia too, but she's way too emotional, the complete opposite of Aaron. What I need right now is a totally unbiased opinion, taking all the circumstances into account. So, before we move on to the next update, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Do you think it's ever okay to pull extreme pranks on friends or even random people? I mean, you've probably seen those insane pranks all over social media. Personally, I think if someone genuinely enjoys those harsh jokes, it's a pretty big red flag. I'll admit, I used to enjoy watching crazy pranks too, even though deep down I knew they were messed up. If you have any real empathy, you realize how awful it would feel to be in the victim's shoes. It's basically the lowest form of humor, like laughing at someone falling down. Sure, lots of people laugh when that happens, but we all know it actually hurts like hell. Anyway, I'd love to hear your take on this. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe it's all just harmless fun after all. First update. I read through all the comments on my original post, and while I respect everyone's opinions, I still couldn't shake the guilt, and ended up apologizing to Sophie for calling her a pig. I don't regret anything else I said, but it was unbearable for me to live with the fact that I insulted someone over their appearance. Having been bullied myself for things I couldn't control, I knew I had to make it right if only for my own conscience. I sent her an apology about 5 minutes ago. She hasn't read it yet, but honestly, even if she never does, I'll know that I did the right thing by trying. As for my mother-in-law, I haven't spoken to her either. Technically, she wasn't directly involved in all this, but she immediately took Sophie's side, despite knowing how badly Sophie behaved. Every message from her was basically, "Yeah, Sophie messed up, but," or, "I understand why you're upset, but," if she really understood, why should I be the one apologizing? It just didn't make any sense. Honestly, I think she just didn't want me to be mad at Sophie. And let's be real, if the roles were reversed and I had pulled a stunt like that on Sophie, her reaction would have been way less forgiving. Aaron wasn't thrilled that I apologized, but he told me it's proof I'm a good person, much better than his crazy sister. Nadia, on the other hand, was really happy about it and even said she was proud of me. So, overall, I think I made the right call. Second update. Sophie finally replied a few hours later. She said it was fine, and that she honestly didn't expect anything else from me. She added that she was a little shocked at first, but now things were clear. We were never friends and never will be. At least she was honest about that. She also apologized sort of for pulling that prank on me and for using something against me that she knew was deeply hurtful. She said if she had realized how bad the consequences would be, she wouldn't have done it. Honestly, I still think you shouldn't even consider doing something that cruel in the first place, but whatever. At least there was some form of apology, even if her entire message felt super passive-aggressive. It was obvious she tried to word it in a way that sounded like an apology while still being as irritating as possible. But you know what? It's fine. At least now I can truly move on without feeling guilty. Sophie won't be a part of our lives anymore, and honestly, that's the best possible outcome. Third update. It's been about a month since the last update, and some good news. Nadia found out she's pregnant. She threw a big announcement party last week and invited everyone except Sophie. Since everyone cut ties with her, Sophie pretty much disappeared. She even deactivated her social media for a while and dropped off the radar. Aaron checked in with their dad, though, and he said she's doing fine, just taking a break from everything. Still, Sophie couldn't resist reaching out. She sent Nadia a message wishing her luck with her pregnancy. It was the usual passive-aggressive Sophie style. "Wishing you happiness, health, and an easy pregnancy. I'm just so sorry I can't be there for you because of my other plans." Completely ignoring the fact that she wasn't invited at all. She also said she really wanted to see me, Aaron, and the rest of the family, but that now she's learning to put herself first and staying away from negative energy, meaning us, apparently, because in her mind, we're the toxic ones, not her. It was honestly so ridiculous we just laughed when we read it. We didn't even bother showing the message to everyone else at the party. We didn't want to give her another excuse to make herself the center of attention. The irony is, after all that time offline, we kind of hoped she might reflect and grow up a little. But no, she's still the same old Sophie. Well, good luck to her. At least we got a good laugh out of her inspirational message. Thanks for sticking around and watching this story unfold. Drop your thoughts in the comments and check out our last video over here. Good luck out there.